Our next guest is somebody I feel very blessed to know. Gilbert Kewistep is from the Saulteaux Nakaway First Nation linguistic group in central Saskatchewan and is originally from the Yellowquill First Nation. He currently resides in the City of Saskatoon and is the proud father of 4 daughters and 5 sons.
Oh, wow. Gilbert is also very rich and blessed with many grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. He is a survivor of the residential school system and the Foster Care Sixties Scoop that occurred during his childhood.
Gilbert is a faculty member in the social work department at the First Nations University of Canada and a Knowledge Keeper board member of this university. Gilbert has also been involved working within the City of Saskatoon on several projects that include the Saskatoon Truth and Reconciliation Committee, the naming of the Chief Mistawasis Bridge, the yearly Wichitowin conference, and among other speaking engagements at the U of S and research agencies.
Gilbert also assists with several agencies and projects as a cultural advisor. We are so very thankful that Gilbert is our elder advisor and that we have been blessed to have him as a member of our committee. Gilbert is going to share his knowledge on the importance of the seasons. Welcome, Gilbert.
Hey, thank you very much. Again, thank you for your introduction there, and that kind of went a little far, I think. But again, I'm always honored to come to this committee and to sit with you and that, and to see all the hard work that you guys are doing with the surrounding communities, and again with Chief Sutherland and that from Monero and that. So it's always encouraging to hear her in that, and all the fine work they're doing in that for their community members and that. So again, to the presenters, again, thank you for doing that for the audience out there and that. You know, a lot of our young ones need to know a lot of their own histories, but not only that, everybody's looking up to you in that, to be as our future in that. We need you to step up to the plate and get out there and share what you were taught in that as we go along here in that. So, but again, I want to again thank the previous presenter, Paulette. Again, it's always a privilege, and not only that, very powerful in that to hear her voice in that and her passion in that. So again, that's, we're lucky to have her in that. I'm lucky to always hear her in that. So with that, thank you very much. So again, I want to thank you all in that for coming, and I hopefully I won't take too much time in here, but I want to explain the importance of the 4 seasons in that. And but before that goes on in that, like I said, when we do these kind of presentations in that, we always want to start in a good way. Okay, start in a good way, whether it's a pipe ceremony or even a smudge or even a prayer in that. We want to start that way in that, because that's the way our people always began things in that. When they used to go out traveling in that, they always put tobacco down, and they did a prayer in that for things to start in a good way in that. And for each season that I'm going to be talking about, there was a ceremony that was done to begin that particular part of the year in that. So again, the reason why I'm so passionate about this is that this was taught by my grandmother in that, after seeing her before going to residential school, knowing the importance of the seasons and what they taught us as children, and that, some of the things that I could remember and that, are still fresh in my mind, and that, and her, being very passionate about, teaching us in that. So again, I want to take the time in that to thank the committee, the Prairie River Reconciliation Committee, in that for doing what you're doing in that, and and listening and wanting to hear about these seasons, which meant so much to our people. Like I said, the importance of these teachings in our culture, and that were not taught in the schools. They were not taught in the residential schools. They were not taught in the school the schools that I went to. And I always waited for them, like, what, when are they going to talk about the importance of all the ceremonies that went with them in that? And again, Grandma made sure, like there was protocol that needed to be followed in that with the coming of each season. And that again, in this time here, we know that we're going to get Grandpa snow here pretty soon, and that, and from what I hear on Wednesday and that. So, but again, we have to prepare for him in that. So with that, I want to talk about a bit, maybe starting off with the land-based teachings and the importance of what they meant to our families. Okay, these teachings were taught by members in our families. Again, each family, like Grandma and that, she knew how to teach, about the medicines. The uncles in that, they taught about the hunting, the trapping that they did. That I remember Dad talking about that, and they were taught to the young and how to participate in them. Okay, again, tobacco always followed. We always talk about the tobacco teachings in that. Whenever you want to ask for something that is, I'm just going to reach back here. Whenever you want to ask for any kind of teachings in that refers to land-based or whatever, I was approached with tobacco and that from the committee here and that to talk about this. And that's the way you want to get the information in that, following protocol in that. Okay, so again, I want to thank you all. I know that tobacco is given in various forms, like it's given either with cigarettes or maybe a pouch of tobacco in that, or the twist ties that are here. Again, there's teachings that go with the tobacco in that. Again, and they vary through each tribe. Okay, but the one that I was given in that, some people, they want the whole pouch of tobacco, and rightfully so. That's the way that they were taught. And then, but for some of us, we're taught differently in that, and that's okay. As long as you take the teachings that you were taught in that. And again, for me, my dad told me, like, if you're given tobacco, just a little bit, even just to fill that pipe bowl, that's enough, and that's all that they can afford. And if you can fill that pipe bowl in that with that tobacco, what they're asking for in that, you'll get, they'll get the teachings in that. And again, I must commend the group in that for presenting me with this and that. So I want to begin the teachings in that like we'll start now, like the fall season. In the Saulteaux language, we call it Taquagin. Taquagin. That's in the Saulteaux language. Saulteaux Ojibwe, Taquagin is what it was called in that. So, and pipe was raised for the family in that, for the safety of all family members. And when the fall season hit here, I raised my pipe in that again to for all family members and that to be safe during this part of the year. This time of the year is when all the animals are taken for the rich meat. They've eaten all summer and that, and they're nice and how should I say, nice and fat, I guess, and that they're their meat is all good and that. So, and that's when they were hunted in that. And like moose, deer, whatever the case may be, not whatever it is that you're, and I'll talk about the trapping after, but when you took an animal in that, you thanked that spirit in that by putting some tobacco down in that, for giving its life for you and your family in that, to feed the family. So when this is how we were taught, and when my sons go out in that, that's what they do. When you take the four-legged, you put some tobacco down. When you take the birds, which is the ducks, the geese, when they're at their fattest and that, you put some tobacco down for that spirit and that, for giving you life. So this meant so much to our people, in that always giving back to the animal kingdom, to the bird kingdom, and that to Mother Earth, always there to thank her and that, for protecting us and that. So when the animals were taken at this time of the year, the meat was cut up and dried, and again, they made dry meat out of it, and they saved it for the winter months. And that was how to, back then, we didn't have fridges and that, and that. So what they did was, to preserve the meat and that, they did, the pemmican, some people call it, but they dried the meat in that. So in this way here, that meat was preserved, and it was, it held its flavor in that throughout the whole winter in that. So again, there was those teachings, like, we weren't taught that, like in the schools, and yet it was our survival, right? It is how we survived. It's how our people survived. So again, tobacco was again offered, and that for giving their life to the people in the trapping season. This is where the animals, this goes back when the newcomers came. They wanted to come onto these new lands, and that, to take all the riches in that. And one of them was the furs of the animals in that. And how did they get that? Well, there's the First Nations people that were on the land, and they're the ones that worked with the, you go back into history, the French, the English that came to Canada, looking for the rich furs that were out there and that. And who did they approach? It was the First Nations people. So for our people in that, again, at this time of the year, during the fall, toboggan, they were taking that for their hides and that, to make the clothing, and also again for the the meat in that, to last them through the whole winter and that. So at this time of the year also, we always hear that. Again, I've talked to doctors and that, and there's one doctor that really came back to me, and it really, it really made me think. And it's, we have that teaching. He told me, he said, Gilbert, he said, I don't know why you guys keep coming to these to get medicines in that from the pharmacies and that, right? And we all know who's getting all the monies in that for that. He said, Gilbert, he said, I don't know why you're doing this. He said, you have all the medicines you need in your own backyard. You have all those medicines that are out there. And during this season is when my grandma, my deceased grandma, and I remember her and love her dearly, and that would go out onto the land and take my sister with her. And it was always the oldest member of the family in that. In this case, it was my sister, and she's now deceased in that, but she knew a lot of the medicines that our grandma had taught her in that. She said, for every sickness that's out there, the medicines that you get from Mother Earth will make you better than that. So it'll take over the sickness that you have in your body and that. So again, at this time of the year, they were at their most potent, when they were the most powerful. Like, I'll share one with you, okay? One is the Labrador Tea, and that's, people share that already. Like, there's other medicines that are out there in that, but the one that was given to me and I share with others in that, and I was told, okay, you can share it with others in that, was what that does to you in that, you pick that and you boil it, and what that does is clean out your system in that, it cleans out your the inside your body, the kidneys, the liver and whatnot, and it cleans you right out. And then with all the processed food that we're eating now and that, a lot of that stuff stays in your system and that. So, gathering these medicines and that, like I said, you don't have to pay for them. All you do is offer the tobacco. And what does that do? When you do that, you start thinking about the land, right? You start thinking about, the areas that where these medicines grow. And what are you things infringing on those medicines? I mean, you go to the north, you look at all the mills that are putting people to work, they're going into places where these medicines are out there right now and that. And once you go in there with a bulldozer or whatever and that, you think those medicines will come back? All you have to do is, do the homework on it and that. So again, the medicines are out there for our people in that to go and get. Again, they're all free in that. So these were the teachings that we wanted to pass on. These were the teachings that mean so much to us. And when we look at it, we really think about it. What is that doing? If you don't go clear cut the trees that are out there now, what is it doing? It's protecting our Mother Earth. It's protecting the medicines that we have. It's protecting the trees that we have. Yes, mind you, we need the lumber and that to build houses and whatnot, but that can be done in a way where it's, where they don't have to do any clear cutting or replanting of trees. So again, thinking of all of that, how you're protecting Mother Earth. And as protectives of Mother Earth, our people were front and center in that, always offering the tobacco in that, and always praying to her, praying that, when she's hurt, that our prayers in that are with her in that. So again, the fall season, was that time of the year where, like I said, our people really looked after their own people, for that matter. Because I know that when I was younger and that, hospitals weren't, that were far in between. And even when my grandmother was telling us stories and that, where she had to go to different communities and that to offer the medicines that weren't there yet, because the hospitals weren't, in all the different towns or the biggest city centers. And so again, like I said, we needed that, we needed those teachings and those medicines that from the old people in that, to fix the people in that, to make sure that people had, medicines for all the ailments that they had back then. Berries were also plentiful in that, during this time. They were stored for the winter, and again, they played a big role in the health of our families in that. So again, at this time during the fall season, you looked at the ceremonies, okay? again, I'll talk about the big ceremonies in the spring season, but in the fall season was when the family ceremonies started, the round dances, the horse dance ceremonies, and that. And again, you know, for our people in that was our way of practicing our religion, right? Just like like any other religion that's out there in that. So this is when these ceremonies started in that. And again, like I said, there were many different ceremonies that were performed during this time of the year. The next season that I want to speak about is the winter season. In our culture, in my language, they call it baboning. So again, during this time, we the coming of grandfather snow, and when it's put its blanket over Mother Earth and that, we raise our pipes for the coming of the season. Again, to protect our family members during that whole season and that, and what they need to do. At this time, the legends, the stories were told. Why did the mink get, or the weasel get its black tail? Why did the fox have the colors in that? Those were, during this time is when those legends were told. Okay. Again, for some people it's different, but for our people in that, the stories of Nenapush and Wisakachak, the trickster, this is a season when they were told. Okay, the coming of life in that, the meaning of life, and how life came to Turtle Island. Okay, so again, these stories were told when the grandfather snow covered Mother Earth and that while she was sleeping. So again, the grandfather snow, which is coon, we call it coon in that, the blanket that covers her while she's sleeping in that. So at this time as well too, a lot of the sewing, a lot of the beading was done by the women, to make the clothing, or also to make, regalia for the summer months and that. They couldn't be out that long in the snow or outside because, it could be, it did get quite cold in that, it still does in that. So anyway, so I remember those minus 50 degrees last year. So, but however, like, this was a time when the cookums and that taught the young ones in that how to sew and how to bead in that. The young boys in that, had to go and cut wood in that and make sure that there was snow, or, where they melted the snow and that there's no running water then. But we had to survive, and one way of doing that was to either get ice or again, a lot of you might remember your family members, getting the snow to make the water in that without the running water in that. So again, we were taught how to do that, and that to always do our share of the chores in that during the winter months and that. So in this time, this is when we held our ceremony in that, which is the horse dance in that. I know that this was a ceremony that was passed on to my deceased father, and he has since passed that on to me. And that now that I'm getting up there in age, I've passed it on to my 3 sons. They're the ones that now hold that ceremony for from now until whenever it is that they pass it on to their to the next generation. But we had to hold off on that because of what happened to us here, almost going on 2 years now, and that with this virus, the sickness that came about, we knew that we had to respect, other people in that, and so that they couldn't meet in that. So we had a ceremony in that to hold off on the ceremony for another year. And we had to do again this year to hold that ceremony off. So again, protocol was followed, and that's the way we did. We we raised our pipe, and we asked Creator if we can do the ceremony next year and that, or whenever it's safe and that. So again, following with what's currently out there and that, okay. Again, there's situations that come up, and we have to let our little ones know and that, and that's what they told us. When when our children were being taken away from the reserves, my grandma knew that. She's seen when they used to come with their trucks and put our kids in the back. She's seen that when the school buses used to come and pick us up from the reserve to take us to the residential schools. What she did was she moved away. She took the whole family, my aunts and uncles, and we went and lived in the small community. And that's the community where I was born in. But she knew that, right? She knew that this was happening. And she tried to do what she could to protect the family in that. But that piece, again, that's part of my story that I tell in my own journey in that, through the residential schools, to the foster care system, to where we are today in that, and what I have to keep doing. And that's to teach these the teachings of the seasons in that, and that's not taught in the schools. I asked my grandson, did they tell you about that in school? They said, no, Grandpa. So again, it's up to me to take that lead role in that, to keep that in my family in that. So having said that, I have to tell you about this. I'll go back to my fall season here in that, and one of the things, and I'm very proud of my little grandson. He's only 9 years old. Okay, his older brothers, they kind of got a little lazy in that, but I still love them in that. And he was my right-hand man in that. When it's too bad I couldn't take them to culture camp that I went to this year, but when I came back was a time when I usually pick my medicines in that. And he was out there every time I came out. And I told him, this is what our grandmas taught us in that. This is what our mushrooms taught us in that, how to pick medicines that. Because many times our elders, the old ones, they can't go out there. They can't do the things that they used to do in that. So they pass that on to the younger ones in that. And I'm lucky that I had my dad who taught me how to pick some of the medicines that he knew of in that. And one of them was the sweetgrass in that. I had to drive miles and miles to go and to find that place where he used to pick. Every summer ever since then, I'd go out there and make sure I'd pick a few braids in that, as to where he taught me how they look like and how to braid them in that. So every year I'd go out there. And what do you think I did? I took my grandson out there and I told him, grandson, this is how sweetgrass looks, and this is what you do. You offer tobacco, say a prayer to Mother Earth and that, thanking her for the medicines, thanking her for what this medicine will do to help other people. And during that time, we were thinking of those less fortunate, those that couldn't go out anymore, those that were unable to pick. And so we said, I told my grandson, let's pick for those people that can't come out. And having worked at the Saskatoon Health Region back then, I used to go and see some of our elderly patients, and many of them would ask if I had a braid of sweetgrass, and luckily I did. So I'd present that to them, that they'd offer me with tobacco and thank me. Again, when you smell that sweetgrass, it takes them back to the time when they were young as well too. And I know that with my with my grandson, and that having learned from his grandpa, and that's something that's special to him. So I said, grandson, let's do this. Let's pick for those that can't come out anymore. And so we did, and we picked 30 braids of sweetgrass, and we presented it to the Saskatoon Health Authority now, I think they're called. And all we asked for was tobacco, so we can put back to Mother Earth and that, thanking us for giving this medicine. So we did that, him and I, we went out and we did that, and thinking of other people, thinking of Mother Earth. Okay, that was always our number one, was to think of others and thanking Mother Earth and that for giving us life, for giving us something that's really good in that to pass on to it. Doesn't cost anything, money shouldn't be an issue in that when you're helping other people in a good way in that. And it, when we presented it in that, oh, he felt so good. Thank you, Grandpa. That's all I needed to make me feel very good and proud. I knew that passing that on, I know that he's gonna take that. He'll ask me again next year, when are we gonna go pick medicines again? So again, that really, I felt good. I felt good knowing that, he thought of the season, he thought of other people in that. And to do that to the young ones in that, that makes us feel proud, those of us that are getting up in age here and that. So Nakaway, the fall, when you pick the medicines, think of others in that. If you can do it, by all means, make people happy in that, So again, I talked a bit about the fall, the winter. Again, the winter is, of course, we do the winter sports, the hockey and whatnot. Hockey, like you said, was one of the things that as a child and that in these residential schools, that was the one thing that really made me feel good. And that as a child and that, nothing else, we went through some very hard and trying times in these schools. But one of the things was they taught us how to play hockey. And hockey was a very passion of mine in that after I got out, and it still is today when I see my grandchildren's playing hockey and that. Even 8 o'clock in the morning, I'll go watch them. My grandson was a goalie in that. He had practice 8 o'clock Saturday. Grandpa went out there and watched him in that. So again, it made me feel good. It makes children, when they learn these teachings in that, the meaning behind them in that, it makes them feel good. It makes you feel good. So again, the fall and the winter. So the next season that I'll be talking about is the spring. C1 is what we call it in the Saulteaux language. C1, the spring season. Again, pipe was raised, when the coming of the melting of the snow, and then Mother Earth is rising again, coming to life with the flowers and the young ones, the four-legged and the birds coming back, and life coming again. So again, the raising of the pipe and that, so that they too, the four-legged, the bird kingdom, the ones that live in the water, the small animals that are on Mother Earth, we pray for them in that so that they have a good life in that. We know with all the forest fires happening, in the spring, summer and that, you pray that they escape from these fires and that, and some of them do. So again, we pray for them that, that they're protected as well too. We pray. I always, whenever I hear the grandfathers, those that light up the sky, those that you hear the thunder, to us that's life as well too. The bringing of the spring season, the bringing of rain, to refresh in Mother Earth again. Again, when I hear the thunder and the lightning, I raise my pipe in that, welcoming them back to our part of the country here. So again, like I said, you know, the coming of the warm and that, it's again the awakening of Mother Earth, the blossoms of a new year. Again, this is the year where you prepare for the upcoming summer season, right? You know, you've now you know, you've had a hard winter now and that, and you're looking forward and that to doing some of the things that you do normally, like, you know, it's starting to get warm now. You're starting to see life out there, the leaves on the trees budding, you know, and in this season here is for many. I know my deceased grandma and that, she used to prepare. This was a season where it used to prepare for the big ceremonies and that, like for the winter, for the summer that's coming up, like the Sundance ceremonies. For those of you in that, these Sundance and rain dance ceremonies were held during the summertime, and that's where, you know, all the families gathered in that to thank, you know, Creator and that for life, and also to give and that. So again, preparation was made for the summer season, also the powwow season, which was coming. Okay, and I know that many families attended, you know, these powwows. They travel for many miles in that. They go into the United States. They go and do presentations across the countries in that, in schools and other locations. So again, preparation was made for that, you know, and by then, by then you had your all summer planned already as to what you're going to be doing. So, and again, this was a time when in the fall, remember I was telling you that the animals were taken for their hides, like the moose, the deer and that, all those hides were kept, you know, in either in a cool place or or you used to dig. I know that my grandma used to she used to keep our food cool was to dig a hole into the ground and put an encasing over the food and that, so it wouldn't spoil in the heat. And many times, you know, some of these hides would go in there as well too in that. So when they'd pull them out in the spring in that, they'd work on them then. Why the spring? That's before the flies would come out and that. They'd lay their eggs on the while they're tanning the hide in that, because you have to get the flesh and the fat off the hide in that, and the fur as well, so that you can work the hide over and make it a nice. And when you see a lot of the leather that's out there now, the Indian vests and the jackets and the regalia out there, that's all made from the hides of the that were prepared in that by the women, and even men do that as well too. So again, they did that during the spring in that. So, you know, before all of the flies would come in that. So again, the spring season, again, a lot of preparation was done during this time as well. A lot of the medicines, you know, some of the medicines, you know, that where they weren't so powerful in that were taken for the young generation that, you know, again, that's a teaching in itself in that. But I won't get into that here now, but it was a teaching in that. So again, there's teachings in every everything that was done. Okay. So tobacco was offered, and you sat with grandma, your aunts and uncles and that, mums and dads, and they would tell you in that, you know, what it was that they were doing. And by doing that, you listened, you looked, and you asked questions after, you know. And in many ways, that's how the teachings were done in our culture in that. So anyways, yeah, again, lot of preparation done in the spring, and that the welcoming of Mother Earth awakening, and everything that all the ceremonies that went with each season. Again, there were ceremonies that were done during this time of the year as well too. So again, now comes summer, right? The summer season. Again, this season again was brought on with the intent of preparing, for the summer. I guess the other thing I gotta talk about too is the spring season, the coming back of the animals, the birds, and life in that, in the coming back from the south, and they raise their families here, and then they go back in the fall, right? So again, all of that, you prayed when you seen the V in the with the geese, and when you seen the robins, come before and by the window or in the backyard or whatever, and that, or the crows. When the crows came, that spring was near. Okay, so it always the crows that in our culture, and that when once they're here, that spring is just around the corner, and that. So with the next season is the summer season, and that's in our culture, and that we call that Neepin. And as always, our grandfather was raised in that for the blossoming of Mother Earth, and for things to go right. Okay, again, when you do ceremony in that, it's for things to go right. And when we began this journey of ours, and that, with the group, and that we did a pipe ceremony, and that for things to go right, to start in a good way. Okay, and by doing so, and that there's respect that is given to everyone in that. And I must again thank this group, the PRRC, in that for following tradition, and asking for those protocols on what they didn't know in that, and for them for being brave and doing it in a humble way, okay, and respectfully. And again, I by following those values, in that, you can't go wrong. Okay, so again, I must say that everything that was that began with this group, and that began in a very good and humble way in that. So again, I must I'm very proud that I was asked to be a part of it, and that, and I'm still humbled when I'm asked to this day even to come and present here in that. So again, to start in a good way. Okay, this is when families would travel many miles in that when many families would travel many miles in that to the home reserves, in that to attend these ceremonies, the big ceremonies, which is the Sundance. And I know that we used to live in a town called Hudson Bay, and we used to travel, I think, about over 3 miles, maybe 3 or 4 hours, and that to travel to our home community, which was Yellowquill, just to come and attend the Sundance that they were having that year. So again, this was a year where these big ceremonies were held in that. So, and this was a year also when the Sweat Lodge, the Sweat Lodge ceremonies that maybe some of you had attended already in that, but many of them were late spring to all summers when they held these, and well into the fall season as well. So again, there's many ceremonies that were affiliated with each season in that, and these teachings, You know, this is how we survived. This is how we interacted with Mother Nature and that. This is why we were called the protectors of Mother Nature and that, always giving her thanks in that, offering tobacco. When I'm asked, you know, for those that have given names to in that, they ask me, you know, what can I do? Well, what you do is you put tobacco for every season that's out there, thanking her and giving thanks to her for protecting you and your family in that. So these are things that, you know, that I still carry on. These are things that I pass on to my sons, and they're doing that with their children. So when I see my grandchildren doing that, you know that I'm leaving a good legacy. I'm leaving a good legacy that my grandma taught me, a good one that my father taught me in that. I didn't speak about my deceased mother. She passed on when I was 5 years old. So, but I know that she shared a lot of love for us as children in that. I was told that by my dad, my deceased dad, and my relatives. But my heart is there with her, and that we know that she's looking down on us and happy, knowing that we're doing what we can to protect our Mother Earth and that, doing what we can to teach the young ones, you know, the importance of these seasons and that, what it meant to our families, the life that it gave us. And when I asked my grandsons, are they teaching you this in school? And they said, no, Grandpa, they're not. So it may not mean a lot to many, but to us, it was a way of survival. To us, it was a way of looking after Mother Earth, the one that looks after us, and Creator and that for blessing us, you know, to walk on her every day in that. And that's what I pray for every morning. I pray to everyone in that that's out there, those that are hurting, those that need prayer in that, is for them to walk a good path on Mother Earth today in that. And that's all I can do in that. But, you know, it's one that I feel good about. It's one that I feel good when I see my friends, when I see the people that are out there. So again, I'd like to stop there in that for now, maybe, and if you have any questions, by all means in that. But you know, this, if I, you know, I teach this in my class to my students in that. Remember the 4 seasons and what they mean to our people. Okay, if you can do it to your family members, if you can do it to your children, then we'll prepare them for the future. Because when you look at and when you see the world changing, you know, what are we leaving our little ones? But if we teach them what we were supposed to do in that, they will be our voices for the future. They will tell those that are decision makers in that, no more can we do this. We must protect what was given to us. So again, I want to thank you all for listening. You know, it means so much to me in that when people listen. It's, I don't know, it seems like I'm rambling on at times and that, but I really, I want to thank you all for listening in that, and from my heart to you and your families, thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert.
Miigwech, Gilbert.
Yay.
You never ramble. You just are so full of information that you need to pass it on, and we are so grateful for it all the time, your teachings and your kind words, and we are so blessed to have you to call upon. So as honored as you feel sharing with us, we are equally or more so honored that you will share with us. Thank you, Gilbert.